there's some things here that make sense to me and other things that just don't. So Bethesda have just added land vehicles to Starfield, alongside a bunch of quality of life improvements, new maps, so you can much more easily navigate the game now. They've even increased difficulty settings and added more credits to vendors. We're going to go over everything new in the new Starfield update, but I'm really curious, is this enough for you to install the game again and return? Let me know in the comments because I'm super curious. The Starfield May update. Here we go. Let's see what they have in store for us.
Hi, I'm Jess Finster, Community Director at Bethesda, and I'm here today at Bethesda Game Studios to talk to you all about the next update coming to Starfield. The team has been hard at work, so let's go chat with them to see what they've been working on.
Okay. It's a face-to-face update video. Must be good then.
So with Update 4 on the horizon, what are some of the new features that players have to look forward to?
So we've seen a lot of feedback online that players really want a lot more utility and detail in our surface maps. So we took what's there, we blew it all up, and instead now we have a whole new aesthetic to the surface maps where you can see the terrain, all the detail in the terrain, trees, rocks, all the structures in the loaded zone. It's a lot easier to navigate. We've also made it easier to get around the cities. You can see markers for all the shops, the enhanced boutiques, restaurants, you name it, It's all there. It's a lot easier to get around now.
Yeah, compared to the old Starfield map, this is so much cleaner and it really communicates where the locations actually are instead of just existing in this weird map marker void. Now we actually have icons for diners, metros, armor and weapon stores. You can see the diamond landmarks like the lodge over here or the mast building, launch pad, which you can clearly fast travel to, and then you have the circular sort of sub-location icons, all very clearly communicated. I feel like this just should have been in the game at launch. I mean, it looks like it belongs in the game, and I'm glad that they've taken this long to kind of figure it out and do it properly. This seems to be the player icon just here, because you can see that rotates as you rotate the camera, so you always know north is over here. But what is harder to see is which way my character is actually facing. It seems to be left. But seeing the planet like this is actually really interesting, because you can see, okay, there's a location here and one here, another one over here. And there's just nothing in between. That was one of my negative things about Starfield, as I felt like between here and there wasn't much adventure. Whereas compared to like playing Fallout 4 or Skyrim, I felt like there was always something going on in between each location I was walking to, something handcrafted. Then we see the city scan map. They finally added those map markers. Now I would hope that when you highlight one of these locations maybe you want to go to, you'll actually get these arrow markers that guide you to those locations.
With Update 4, we're also adding a bunch of gameplay options. So for that, players can really tune their experience how they prefer. We're adjusting things like capacity of vendor credits, the actual carry weight. Additionally, affects to difficulty. So some of those, depending on how you play, you can actually tune to be like space combat more difficult or gun combat less difficult. It's really up to you. And depending on how you balance them, it'll change how you get XP.
That's awesome.
So there's some things here that make sense to me and other things that just don't. So this is the amount of damage enemies receive versus your character receives. And obviously if you don't like ship combat or you find it really hard, you can make that easier or harder. And I think we'll actually see this in other Bethesda games moving forward, where you can just change the RPG difficulty directly to what you want and what you struggle with. Even when it comes to like carry capacity, removing those aspects of the game that you find boring or frustrating. But now we also have aim assistance option, ammo weight, carry capacity, cargo access distance. And there's no reason why you wouldn't just turn this on, put anywhere when you need to drop your cargo off because you're over encumbered, and then turn it back on to no cargo access whatsoever. Like, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. Vendor credits, I will talk about why I have a problem with that in a second. Medical item healing, food healing, sleep healing. That's an interesting one, especially if you have like a Starfield survival mode. I know it was originally planned before release, but later removed. Sustenance of food and affliction treatment and prognosis, which is obviously the different illnesses. Environmental damage, it can also be changed as well, making the game actually more harsh to survive in. Because right now you have all these armor sets and suits with different environmental resistances that don't really matter when you play the game. Hopefully that changes that. Save on rest or wait or travel. One of the mechanics I take issue with is vendor credits. In my opinion, it's always been a problem in Bethesda games, whether it's Skyrim, Fallout, and Starfield. You kill enemies, you loot them for all this cool stuff, you put it in your ship, you go to like the nearest settlements to sell it. This is like the sort of general gameplay mechanics of Skyrim as well. You go to a dungeon, you kill the enemies, you loot the expensive stuff, you take it back to the local town and sell it for gold. That's how you get money. But always the problem has been that when you're trying to sell all of the gear you're getting from these NPCs or the loot, the vendors in every Bethesda game never has enough money to buy everything. So you always have to do a workaround method. Whether it's punching the NPC and reloading in Skyrim to reset their inventory, or in Fallout it's you have to wait 48 hours. So you just sit there and watch a waiting screen, which is terrible gameplay considering. And then in Starfield, you'd have to, travel to Venus and then sit there and wait for an hour and then fast travel back through all the loading screens, which is just a terrible experience again. So players want to be able to play the game and not abuse these sort of gameplay mechanics to make the vendor reset the amount of credits they had in their inventory. So now we have the workaround, which is the vendor credits increase or decrease. And you can greatly increase the amount of credits they carry or reduce it. Obviously, if you increase the amount of credits, you get -6% experience, or if you greatly increase it, you get -8%. What doesn't make sense to me is why you would punish players with minus experience modifiers to make the vendors have more credits. Because you're basically saying, oh, if you go around looting more enemies and selling all that loot that you collect, that you're punishing the player for playing the game. I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. I would love to hear the opposite side of the argument. Maybe you have one in the comments that I've missed. But I just think the vendors should have more credits. That's it.
That's awesome. So you're really upping the ante for players that want an even bigger challenge.
Yeah, and with that, we actually are adding what's called the extreme difficulty. It sits above very hard, and it really, really makes you pay attention, especially for the higher level characters.
So a bit of a rebalancer. I personally don't like bullet spongy enemies, so one thing I modded in Fallout 4 was I changed the enemy so that they did lots of damage, but my character also did lots of damage to them. So the time to kill was really low. But let me know if you agree in the comments.
How about ship customization? I know players are really capitalizing on all of the ship content in the game, and we've seen some really crazy stuff out there that I'm sure you guys have seen as well. But are you adding anything more to the ship customization?
Yeah, so people love to customize their ships. Like some of the builds out there are just mind-blowing. Some beautiful, beautiful stuff. So now we're turning our attention to the inside of the ships. So we're adding a decorate mode where you can go and fully furnish and customize the interior layout of the ship.
I always wondered why they didn't have that in the game, but I don't think they realized how popular it would be as a requested feature.
Ships, place of furniture, decorations, basically everything you can do in outpost mode. You can now do in the ship, and it's saved, and you can do that to your entire fleet. In addition to decorate mode, we're also offering a whole new set of empty habs. So basically, instead of pre-cluttered habs in the ship builder, we'll have a new set where there's no furniture, there's no decoration, nothing. It's a total blank slate, so players can just kind of fill it up with their own stuff.
That's
so much better.
They'll really get to emulate whatever their personality showcases outside on the inside.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it when Bethesda listen to the community feedback and actually input that stuff into the game. This is exactly the kind of stuff I want to see.
Exactly.
New Game Plus. Is there anything being added to this update that helps the players after they've completed the campaign to return to the game?
Yeah, so if you're like me and you find the more you go through the Unity, the more you become the hunter, the one thing I want to do is be able to respec my traits. So we're adding that. So in case you're getting tired of Wanted or want to change your alien DNA, and you really want that new dream home experience, you get to choose that when going through Unity. In addition, you'll be able to rechange your appearance.
In the future, they should just have like a plastic surgeon person you can go to and change your appearance at any time. I don't think it should be a New Game Plus thing, but I love that you can change your traits. That's really cool. Obviously on PC, we were doing this with console commands anyway, but it's great to see that feature added.
Really living that next second life, huh?
Exactly.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you guys want to share about this update that players have to look forward to? I mean, you've already shared a lot as it is, but...
We're focusing now on our Xbox Series X players with this update. We're giving them some settings where they can help prioritize between performance or visual. If they choose to prioritize performance, the target FPS will move to 60. And for players that have TVs that support VRR, they'll be able to choose between VRR 40 or VRR 60.
I love how this planet looks like Skyrim.
In addition to the new features we just talked about, there are a couple of quality of life updates that we're introducing. One of them is you can now toggle dialogue cameras off. So instead of getting that sort of focus zoom in on whatever NPC you're talking to, it just stays in normal default camera mode. It's a little more immersive that way. Some players may prefer that.
Love it.
I really love that they've added that option, and I didn't expect it. I kind of like the old school Elder Scrolls Oblivion style where you just zoomed into the NPC and really intensely looked at them during conversations.
More immersive that way. Some players may prefer that.
Love it.
In addition to that, we're making the container and barter menus a bit more usable. We've added some tabs along the top, so it's easier to sort of see what container or what inventory you're looking at, whether it's yourself or your ship. It's just easier to navigate. Basically, inventory and item management. It's a small thing, but it actually, I think, makes it a lot nicer.
Before, I was kind of like very confused between the tabs sometimes. I'd accidentally be selling the wrong thing or buying the wrong thing because I didn't know what tab I was in. It was quite confusing.
Nicer.
It's just, quality of life improvement, really. Oh, we missed Skyrim.
Tim, we just talked to Joe and Isfan a little bit about Update 4 and what's coming, but is there anything else that you want to talk about that's down the horizon?
So the team is working on our first land vehicle, so you can drive around on planets. Obviously, we're working on more quests, and
that was the whole footage we got. And that is a Starfield looking car dune buggy. Is that the power bar there on the bottom right?
So you can drive around on planets.
Oh yeah, it is. Look, I think it does say boost. And as he boosted, it actually went back down. The cars also have health. Does that mean we'll get enemy cars like Mad Max style in space where they'll be shooting at us? This was such a highly requested feature, and it solves the problem I mentioned earlier. Where you've visited hundreds of planets, you want to go from here to the interesting location over here. And getting from here to here is just running, jetpacking. Having a car to get there is going to be a lot funner, I would hope, and a lot faster. I don't know, I'm really curious to see how that car experience changes the gameplay.
Obviously, we're working on more quests and the massive Shattered Space expansion.
Oh, it's going to be massive.
That's all very exciting.
Maybe this is like a new anomaly puzzle that they've made. The lighting looks very epic though. We also see someone working on a clearly new armor set.
What about creations? Anything you can share there?
I think we mentioned it earlier this year, but we've sent out our beta toolkit to verified creators. So hopefully more information on that soon.
Awesome.
That's really interesting he mentions that because that's been sent out not just for Starfield users, but also other Bethesda games have been updated revolving around the new creation system. There's a new creation kit as well that they'll be able to use. Apparently it's more stable because the other one, from what I've heard from modders, was a nightmare to work with and all the crashes they experience drive them insane. But that new creation content for us means that there'll be probably a lot of paid content that's going to be launching on probably not just Starfield, but also the other Bethesda games as well. So Skyrim, Fallout, and so on.
More information on that soon.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Tim.
Hey, no problem, Jess.
That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining us and for your continued feedback.
I'm really curious to hear, is this enough content for you guys to just want to reinstall Starfield and jump in again and experience it, or are you just going to wait for Shattered Space? So you can see everything here from the May update, but obviously we don't know when these land vehicles are coming out. I wouldn't be surprised if it's even beyond Shattered Space, which is coming out this fall, I believe.